Vote count says it rejects the Electoral Amendment Bill in its current form. The advocacy group says the bill is fatally flawed.
The advocacy, of course, group saying that, and it's saying it did not submit comments to the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs on the proposed changes. It's also saying that it's clear that the committee will not consider submissions proposing a system enhancing accountability. For more on this, we're joined by My Vote Counts, Letlogonolo Letsele. A very good morning to you, Letlogonolo, and thank you so much for your time. So there are three issues that you've highlighted, of course, that you wish to have addressed. I'm just going to look at the first one being the public participation process that you find to be inadequate. You are essentially, you correct me if I'm wrong, saying that the public was not given enough time to actually offer their comments and suggestions, and that, of course, essentially they're not being given the recognition, if at all, in terms of the little time that they've been given and the information that has been shared with them in making them understand what exactly is being put forward here by the electoral bill. Where exactly is the issue regarding the public participation? Is it the time? Is it the information given? Is it both? Is there more?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. So it's both and it's even more. So we had the first round of public consultations in March. So what we're seeing now is actually the second round. But initially we had that around March. But what happened is that the notice for the public hearings was very limited. So you had a situation where the public is notified about 3 days before that Parliament will be coming to your districts to give you information about the the Electoral Amendment Bill. So now we're having a situation where people are not prepared. They have not engaged with the bill itself. Even the provision of that information was inadequate. Remember, the bill is based on a report. So the minister was given options on how to really change the electoral system to include independent candidates. So there were two reports, a minority view and a majority view. So the majority view said, which was in favor, that the system should be completely changed to sort of resemble the local government, where we have a constituency-based system, hybrid, half, and then the PR. The minority report said that we do not need to change, you can just simply insert. But when the minister and the Home Affairs Portfolio Committee went through to do public participation, it didn't come with that report. It just came with the bill, which was based on the minority. So already the public was deprived of how Parliament got to that bill. They did not even get information on that report itself to really engage and say, this is what we prefer. So the time was very limited. There wasn't knowledge about the report and the process, and it didn't even understand the purpose of the public participation. So this really hampered the ability to influence, the whole bill. So really, the public participation did not really even have an effect on the bill, because even after the public participation, the bill was similar to what the minister had proposed, which is a minority amendment to the Electoral Act.
Yeah, I mean, we're also saying here that the committee was clear that it will not reconsider any submissions that address the substantial flaws in the bill or any proposals to ensure an electoral system that could meaningfully enhance accountability and reflect the Constitution. I'm just trying to understand from the point of this, especially when it comes to the Portfolio Committee, why? If the bill is flawed, we had a constitutional court ruling that actually called for the amendment of the bill. We were given 2 years even to consider it from a parliamentary process. We're given an extension of further 6 months, and yet we find ourselves back here in the first place. Why? Why are we stuck on amending something that constitutionally has been declared flawed?
Look, it's quite strange how Parliament is adamant on the minority bill, which is the one that they're going with, which is just a small change by including independent candidates. I mean, we've been lamenting that it's not going to work simply because the system has never worked anywhere and it's impossible to reconcile. So the system that we have now is that independent candidates are not going to be able to contest fairly and equitably. The conditions are just harsh. So even after the public participation, we've been saying this. So what is happening now is the second round of call for changes. But then Parliament is still not hearing those substantial changes that we are speaking about now. It's just minor changes, minor legalistic changes, and they don't want to listen to the major issues that we're speaking about now, which is the public participation was flawed, and then it impacts, the quality of the bill, the content of the bill itself, because now we're saying that independent candidates are not going to have a fair chance. So really, it's not going to benefit them to have them there. But the Parliament is not really hearing what we are saying, and hence we are saying that they really need to listen, because now we are going to have challenges later on where we have some civil society group or even individual contesting the bill after it's passed, simply because of the reasons that we're speaking about now.
Letlogonolo, national parties can contest 400 seats in the National Assembly. Independents can only contest 200, which essentially makes it difficult for them. Is my vote of the belief that government just doesn't want independents contesting the elections? They don't want the likes of, one South African movement to be contesting the elections, that they just want to keep it only to political parties?
I guess it's fair on their part, because now if you are going to include independent and include them fairly, so it's just going to change a bit of the balance of power there. So I guess maybe it's fair, because now if you think about it, in Parliament, it's the political parties themselves who are actually working on this bill. So it's very hard to expect takers to vote for Christmas, because they're going to be eaten. So they are really trying their best to really make sure that they stem victorious, in the sense that they do as very little as possible to include independent candidates, so that it's really not a challenge for them. But it's not happening because they are contradicting the court's ruling, because the court said you need to include independents, and they need to be able to contest fairly and equitably. And at the end of the day, the system needs to result in proportionality. So that's not happening, because now, like you said yourself, parties are able to contest 400 and independent candidates are only able to contest 200. What happens is that the threshold for seats is not the same. So political parties really need a lower number of votes to get a seat, while independent candidates need a lot, because now they are fighting for smaller seats. So really, it's not really working in their favor.
Yeah. As we're looking at the fact that it is under public, it's calling for some kind of public participation, you're rejecting that. Should we not find a way forward when it comes to this, the bill in itself? Does that mean come 2024, those elections could essentially be declared null and void because of the unconstitutionality of the electoral system?
Look, that's where it's getting at, because if you recall, the June 2020 judgment said the Electoral Act is unconstitutional. So that essentially meant that going forward, we cannot use that system because it was declared unconstitutional. So if we don't finish this and have a system in place by 2024, and we use the current system, essentially we're having elections with the system that was declared null and void. So what really stops a person waking up tomorrow after having the elections with the same system, saying that it's an unconstitutional election because the system was declared unconstitutional? So really, we're having that threat to the elections in 2024 because of the system. So Parliament was really supposed to do right by the system and make sure that independents are able to contest fairly, and that we have a proper system. But there were so many delays between 2020 and today, and really it's running out of time. And we foresee quite challenges, because should this bill be passed in the fashion that it looks now, it's definitely going to be challenged because of the context of the bill and how independent candidates are required to contest in such hostile conditions, and it contradicts the constitutional ruling. So we are going to see those challenges. So Concord is really going to have a hard time trying to reconcile all of this and deciding what's best for our democracy in the elections in 2024.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting journey where the elections of 2024 are concerned. But we'll leave it there with you, Letlogonolo. Thank you so much for joining us on the South African Morning. That is My Vote Counts. Letlogonolo, let's see.
What's ahead for you on the South African Morning?
We are talking all things sport, and you're talking